Hi, good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining this webinar tonight, where we're going to be discussing the Maidstone Road public space improvements and Brownlow Road walking and cycling improvements too. Thank you for joining. We're going to get started. It's now 6 o'clock, and we can see that we've got people here with us, so we'll get going and move to the next slide, please. Okay, so here's the agenda. So this is what we're going to run through over the next sort of 30 minutes or so. First of all, we'll do some welcome and housekeeping, and then we'll go through and do an short introduction to the programme, and then look at each project in turn. So the Maidstone Road public space project first, and then the Brownlow Road walking and cycling route. We'll then talk a little bit about some communications engagements, and then move on to the key next steps before we start a question and answer. Can I just check with colleagues that you can hear me okay?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, great. Okay, so we'll move on to the next slide. So first of all, if we can just do a little bit of housekeeping. So you may have noted that there is a Q&A function, a question and answer function that we're going to be using at the end to answer questions. So please do enter your questions into that chat function. And then following the webinar, we'll review those and potentially update the FAQs on the project page as well. Comments that we receive tonight will not be published, so you can put comments through on the Q&A function as well. As I say, we won't publish those, but we will review those as part of the project. And if you've got questions that are not about these particular projects, then we won't be going into those this evening, but you can email to the email there on the screen, journeysandplaces@enfield.gov.uk, and then we can provide responses to those where appropriate. We are recording this webinar, and it will be published on the project page, so if people can watch this in their own time later. And just a reminder before we start that the engagement maps are still live on the web page, and there are the various links on the Let's Talk platform for you to publish and share your ideas, your issues, and your comments. Okay, next slide, please. So first of all, a little bit about the programme. Next slide, please. So Journeys and Places really is a programme that exists to address the challenges that you see on the screen here before you. I won't go through each one, but the Journeys and Places programme, originally called the Healthy Streets programme, and still are looking to deliver healthy streets. But Healthy Streets really is a Transport for London policy initiative, and the programme Journeys and Places now is a local programme in Enfield that's taking forward those types of projects to address some of the issues that you can see on the screen here. Next slide, please. So the way that we're going about that really is through four key areas. First of all, we're looking to develop a walking and cycling network. So the project on Brownlow Road is about helping to create that network. So it's a link that will, in time connect to other projects. And on the next slide, we're also delivering projects to look at public realm improvements and work around town centres. We've got a big project in Enfield Town, but also the Maidstone Road project is about improvements to the public realm to generally make our streets more pleasant places to be. Next slide, please. We also got projects in neighbourhoods, so a whole range of different initiatives to make our neighbourhoods quieter and safer, to reduce speeds of motor traffic and also volumes of motor traffic, and to trying to create environments where people walking, wheeling and cycling is a much more attractive option. This sort of area of work also includes school streets and cycle hangers and other initiatives such as that. And then finally, we've got a fourth area of work, which is really about informing and inspiring the community about active travel and the different opportunities that are available. So that's a short introduction to the programme. I'm now going to hand you across to Anna, who I think is going to introduce herself and give you an overview of the programme. For people who don't know me, because I failed to introduce myself up to this point, my name is Richard Eason and I'm the Journeys and Places Programme Director, and these projects fall into my area of works. But I'll now hand over to Anna and allow the other people to introduce themselves as they go. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Richard. Good evening, everyone. I'm Anna Francisco and the project manager delivering those two projects. As Richard mentioned, Maidstone Road public space improvements and Brownlow Road walking cycling route. I'm very excited to be delivering this new piece of work and infrastructure that will have significant benefits to the community by providing you greener and better connections. We are currently in the early engagement phase of this project, which has been funded throughout the Green and Healthy Streets program by TfL. And this early engagement aims to receive ideas, issues in the project areas to help influence the concept in detailed designs. So the objectives that we are aiming to achieve with both projects are shown as a great permanent green infrastructure, reduce surface water flood risk, provide shade and reduce risk of overheating, enhance access to green space, and create east and west connection for people walking and people cycling. So the both projects are located on the image, as you can see. The Brownlow Road project goes from Goring Road to York Road, going through Brownlow, going through to Brownlow Road, and the Maidstone Public Space Improvement. It's around the Maidstone Road model filter and the Warwick Road model filter. I will starting talking about the Maidstone Road public space. The Maidstone Road intervention is a greening opportunity that will be implemented around the junction with Warwick Road. Recently, the blue badge holders were allowed access to the Maidstone and Warwick Road model filter, and our objective is to make use of those two model filters to add more greenery and make the area more attractive for residents. So we are proposing to develop rain gardens, plant additional trees, and providing seating and play spaces. So the designs that are shown on display were created to support our bid proposal. As you can see, the both images in the bottom, and this is the actual situation that is Maidstone Road model filter. And these designs will be assessed along with all the ideas and issues raised by residents during their engagement and subsequent consultations. The Brownlow Road walking cycling connection, it's a scheme that is a short route that is connecting the east and west part of the ward. And the design is just starting to be developed, and we are analyzing the current situation to have a better understanding of how we can create a better environment around Brownlow Road for pedestrians and cyclists, and also to improve both crossings on the north of York Road and on the north of Goring Road to improve safety at those crossings. So an equality impact assessment has been undertaken, which considers how the proposed projects will have positive or negative impact on each of these characteristics, and mitigation actions are then being considered for any negative impacts. Example of this consideration is crossing safety, speeding, and eventually, if needed, lighting. So as design features, we'll seek to provide rain gardens, which are planted landscaping features that storm water runoff drains 2 and 3, the Maidstone Road in the Maidstone Road junction and York Road model filter. An example of rain garden shown on the top right-hand corner of the presentation. And rain gardens collect stormwater, which then filters contaminants and reduce flooding. Those rain gardens will be planted with a mix of grasses and wildflowers that are attractive to pollinators and night-foraging insects. So with our proposal, we also are aiming to improve security in the area by reviewing speeds and crossings safety at Brownlow Road. So thank you, and now I'll be passing over to Liz for our communication teams.
Thanks, Anna. Hi, everyone. My name's Liz Rhodes. I am the Communications and Engagement Lead for the Journeys and Places program. So we've detailed some of the activities that we have and will be undertaking for these two projects on the screen here. You can see that there's the two links to the project pages which are live on the Let's Talk Enfield website. I'm sure many of you have already visited those, but I'll speak more about them in a moment. At the moment, there is an online map on both of those pages where we're asking for you to share your ideas, issues, and any comments you may have about the proposals to help us inform the design for each. So we've received a number of pins on both of those maps with those ideas, issues, and comments, and thank you if you've already taken part in that. The maps are open until Sunday, the 2nd of April, so there's still some time if you want to go on there and share more ideas. We sent a letter to residents and businesses in the area, letting them know about this opportunity to share their ideas. We've also been updating people via the council as well as the Journeys and Places social media pages, and of course we've got tonight's webinar as well. We're also working with stakeholders, including Transport for London and the emergency services, both of which we have regular meetings with across the program, and these projects have been raised with them. And we'll be using the project page to keep updating the community later on in the year as the projects progress and as we progress to statutory consultation on the draft traffic orders for each. Next page, please. So this slide just shows the two different maps that we've got live at the moment that I've just spoken about. You can see here the different coloured pins where people have selected a particular location and shared with us some of their ideas. So please do keep these relevant to the projects at hand. We've kept, the area a little bit wider around it just to enable more capture or more space to capture the pins, but there's some really great things that have been shared on there already, so thank you again. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. So this slide just details a bit more about the project page. These are really the hubs of information for each of the projects. So you can find here any proposed plans as we post them, frequently asked questions, key dates for the project, including any upcoming engagement opportunities. So for example, if we do go to statutory consultation down the line, those dates and information will be posted on there. Information on upcoming webinars and engagement opportunities. The statutory consultation surveys are hosted here as well, notices of traffic orders, and as I mentioned as well, we do post regular project updates. Thanks. I'm going to pass back now, I think, to Anna, who's going to cover the key next steps.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. So after this engagement that's ending on the 2nd of April, we'll be analyzing the engagement and of course incorporating any feedback from the early engagement into the concept design and later on also detailed design. Then we'll be continuing developing concept designs with this feedback. We'll then proceed into detailed designs and statutory consultation that we are aiming to do just before the summer in June this year. And once approval is provided, we would commence construction by autumn or winter of this year. So thanks, and we'll go through the Q&A.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, so we'll just look through now the questions and answers. So please do, if you've got questions, please do put those into the chat. And what's helpful is if you've got a series of questions, then if you can put those in individually, that just helps the team as we sort through those. Okay, so I think we've got one question around asking about a previous proposal for a bus gate, and is this the same thing? I think we've seen that comment on the map as well in a couple of places. So just to clarify that the bus gate, this is not a proposal for a bus gate on Brownlow Road. This is some suggestions of improvements that we can make to enable people sort of walking and cycling to cross over Brownlow Road. There's no decision at the moment on a bus gate, and that's sort of pending further discussions with Haringey and waiting for feedback on the work that they've been doing with their own low traffic neighbourhoods. So this proposal is about walking and cycling improvements. It's not proposing any restrictions to traffic on Brownlow Road. So hopefully that's clear. What else do we have? So there's a question about Westbury Road and whether we're proposing any closures to that. Anna, is that something that you can comment on?
No, there is no proposal on Westbury Road, and we are not closing in any way. It's just improving the connection between those two roads. And also York Road will stay the same. We just improve the greenery at this area. So no closures. We won't implement any closures.
Okay, thank you very much. So a few more questions I can now see about the bus gate. Hopefully I've addressed those. That there is, if people go to the Bose project page on Let's Talk, and you can download the report there, which set out quite clearly the position on the bus gate and the fact that no decision has been made on that at this time, and that we need to wait for more information following the implementation of Haringey's low traffic neighbourhoods. So just looking through some of these other comments. So there's some questions about the fact that we're not clear exactly what it is that we're proposing, and that's because at this time we haven't got a fixed idea of how we can improve those crossing points. The idea of this phase of the engagement is to gather people's thoughts and ideas on how we can bring that forward, and then we'll work up some designs. They will then go forward to statutory consultation. So it's intentional that at this point in the process there is no designs to share to you of exactly what we're proposing, because we want to hear about what any issues and thoughts that the community have got to help shape those plans. There's a question about cycle parking and whether more of that can be introduced in the general area. Anna, are you able to talk to that?
Yes. So as in additional to these both projects, my colleagues from other teams, they are planning to introduce several cycle parks around the area. They are right now studying where are the best locations. So you will see new cycle stands and cycle parking around the Bose area, basically. So we'll be implementing this at the same time that we'll be developing concept designs, detailed designs, and eventually constructing these. Hopefully the cycle parking will be implemented earlier than the construction of these both projects.
Okay, thanks Anna. There's some questions around and some comment really, but around the condition of the current planters. suggesting that they're in a poor state, and I think we acknowledge that this recent winter hasn't helped, but we will be coming around and looking at improving that situation with the current planters. So some of the works that we're proposing, particularly around Maidstone Road, for example, are looking to move away from the planters as a sort of form of planting, and the introduction of more permanent SUDS, sustainable urban drainage, as Anna's talked about, which again can enable the plants to sort of establish and become more self-sufficient. But we will look at the planters in the area for sure. So some people are asking whether we could create a signalised crossing on Brownlow Road. So the different types of crossings that people might want to see, that's definitely something that you should feed back via the map. But I can see that some people are asking for a signalised crossing. So I think someone's suggesting, it's a comment really rather than a question, but that we're just focusing on crossing points, and that's a bit of a stretch to suggest that we're saying that there's improvements to walking and cycling. But I think we're suggesting more than just crossing points. We want to work out what we can do to enable someone to cycle safely from York Road, and then get access into Goring Road. So I think that would need us to do something in addition to just the crossing points, in terms of some safe space for people to cycle as well. Question about space between them. Can the space between the planters on Maidstone Road be reduced to match that on Warwick Road to improve the safety and slow vehicles on their approach? So I think we've, as people will know in the area, we've recently removed the bollard there. That's the closure on Maidstone Road has now become camera enforced. That allows additional access for the emergency services, but it also allows additional access for blue badge holders as well. So the space between the planters may have been, the width may have been increased, just to acknowledge that more people might be coming through that space in terms of permit holders. We can certainly have a look at the width as part of any future scheme. As I've said, I think it may be that the planters are removed as a more permanent scheme is implemented. So that's something we can certainly pick up on. So there's some questions it's difficult, and I won't comment on, and for some anonymous user, because it's impossible to follow them. They're not very coherent. Let me see any other questions. Can't see many others that we've not covered. We'll just see if any other questions come through. In terms of next steps, I think as we'll be reviewing the feedback that we get, through this early engagement, and then be developing those designs, as Anna said, and then there will be more formal consultation further down the line. There's a question about pavements and whether there's any plans to improve pavements. So it could be that there's some localized work in the areas where the schemes are being implemented, but there's no plans for sort of wholesale pavement improvements. There is on the council's website a report a problem function, whereas people got concerns about the footway in a particular area. Then you could submit that through to the council, and that helps flag any particular issues if there's something specific that people are concerned about. So there's a question around So I think there's a question about what stretch of road that we're looking at. So I think unless Anna wants to, but I think we're talking about the stretch between York Road and Goring Road. What we're looking to do is work out how we can, if someone's travelling east to west or west to east, how they can move through from York Road and safely get into Goring Road. If we go back to the map there, yes, thanks, Anna. So the scope of the project for the Brownlow Road element is indicated essentially by the blue, the purple arrows there. So there's a current zebra crossing that is in the location of York Road, and the project would include looking at that crossing, whether that's in the best place possible and how that's incorporated or otherwise into the project. So hopefully that answers that. There's a question about an enclosed bridge over Brownlow Road. So people, closed bridge over Brownlow Road. So that's we can have a look at that. I'm not quite sure you know exactly how that might work, but that's certainly do share that idea, and we've got that through this function. But add any other ideas onto the map. And I think there's some questions around you know, to what extent we'll listen you know, to people's ideas. So the whole purpose of coming out at this early stage in the project is to gather those people's ideas, suggestions, problems that they've got, so that they can be in the mind with the team as the designs are taken forward and developed. So we've got the time to do that, and that's something that we want to make sure that we're listening to that feedback. But it's a matter of helping to shape what this scheme will look like, rather than, you know, whether this scheme will go ahead or not. We think that there are some improvements to be had in these two locations. How they unfold is something that we're interested in people's feedback on. Okay. Anna, is there anything that you want to add? I've hogged some of the questions there, but is there anything that you want to pick up on that you think's helpful?
I would say that any comment that we might consider that is necessary, we'll raise to our colleagues within the infill council, for example, the pavements and any other relevant issue that we might find. I'm looking through all the ideas and issues that you've been populating the website, and so as soon as we can, we'll pass through all these comments and feedback, and we'll be incorporated into the designs. And no, I don't have any other comment at this moment, Richard. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Well, unless there's any final comments that come through, well, questions. I can see a few comments coming through. We will take those away and review those. But I can't see any further questions. So thank you very much for coming along and listening to this webinar. As we've said, we'll post a recording of this onto the project page, so that people who've not been able to attend today can look through that, or indeed you can look back at it if you have attended. I think that just a reminder that the opportunity to post and comment is open till what is the date that the
2nd of April.
2nd of April. So there's still you know, quite some time to put your ideas down on the engagement on Let's Talk. I hope that's been helpful, and thank you very much for attending, and we'll close the webinar there.